Christmas decorations out of the attic.
Yeah.
When he went into it.
Okay.
Uh, I also
You can text the show 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Welcome into the Saturday morning scramble brought to you by Lumos Internet, Founders Federal Credit Union, and Ingles Markets. Alex Guest to my right. I am Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this beautiful, excuse me, beautiful. You got me choked up. You got me choked up, teared up over here. This beautiful Saturday morning. We are live at 10903 Anderson Road in Piedmont. You know, remember, though, last time we were here, somebody said it's actually Powdersville. Yeah. So, correction, even though the address says Piedmont, we believe the higher-ups out there, like God, has it called Powdersville instead of Piedmont. So we believe them. Alex, so much to get into last night. If you missed the very first segment of the show, we had scores. Alex gave you the scores from last night, our picks as well. We have a lot to get to on the show. Alex is working feverishly right now to get the brackets updated, so stay tuned as we will try our best to reveal what can be revealed on the brackets, high school league, by Sunday, maybe Monday. Maybe they'll have them all up. Who knows?
Hopefully today.
I know they're supposed to today, but you know how the high school league is. You
want to start working on that film,
expecting I know, but you're really you're asking a lot here. Also, we'll hear from Jamarcus Smith of Gaffney, Jaden McDowell, Andrew Roop. Got some audio from them last night over the region championship win over Spartanburg. We'll talk to Coach Ramsey of Mountain View Prep at 8:40. Dan Jones of Gaffney, I got audio from him last night. Word on the street is it's pretty good audio. I don't know if you heard that or not at the very end, but I've heard it was pretty good audio. Matthew Rochester of Riverside High School at 9:20, a loaded show coming your way. And, again, Alex is working on brackets. They're slowly getting updated, we think, on the high school league website. If you were at a game last night, though, and want to talk about it, you can do so. 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. It's the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone. We've talked about the games that surprised us last night. Hillcrest Hannah, that was an interesting game. And Hillcrest, boy, what a season they've had up until the last 2 weeks, Alex. I don't know what your thought process was in picking that game, but if this game were played a month ago, I'd have probably picked Hillcrest. However, it was not. And Hannah's been hot. Hillcrest has been kind of opposite of hot, kind of cold as of late. So this one didn't surprise me. But, boy, does it seem like, and we talked about it last week, but does it seem like Hannah's heating up right now, or what? 43 points last night scored against Hillcrest.
Yeah, 43-21, Cole. And, this was supposed to be played a month ago.
Oh, yeah.
A lot has happened in the last month for both teams to just get to a point where you mentioned it. Hannah's heating up. They look really good going into the playoffs right now. They started their season a little bit iffy. And that first region game, TL Hannah would be an outright region champion this morning if it weren't for that first region game before Hurricane Helene came in.
Wow.
That they lost to Greenwood 25-21. So that's just tough for TL Hannah right now.
And I guess can Hillcrest turn it around as well, because like the playoffs are here, and everybody talk on any level. When you go into the postseason, you want to be playing your best football, and Hillcrest is. I don't want to say they've peaked, but they were playing their best football a few weeks ago, and not now. Now losers of 2 straight games, I believe.
Losers of 2 straight, lost 3 in the region. They lost an early region matchup against J.O. Mann, where they got blanked by Mann, 31-0. So, it's been tough for Hillcrest down the stretch here. But like you mentioned, maybe they figure things out.
So that was a really interesting game. Speaking of Mann, they looked dominant last night, 35-6. Nothing really surprising about that. They were the better team. And then Boiling Springs East Side, you mentioned it earlier, a lot of zeros on the board. Boiling Springs bouncing back after a tough loss last week to Burns, which feels like way more than a week ago, by the way.
It does.
God.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did the election turn last week?
We added an hour.
Plus the election.
Yeah, plus the election kind of. Like there's been a lot
that seems
happened
like
in the last
so
week.
longer than a week ago.
It does.
Wow. But anyways, Boiling Springs coming off of a tough loss a week ago to Burns, Alex. A big win last night, 41-0 over Eastside. And good for them to kind of get back the momentum before they go to the playoffs. I guess the only concern, the only worry is just from the outside looking in, they've beaten the teams they're supposed to beat. They're beating up on, teams that they're better than. But do you look at it from a standpoint of maybe it was good for them to get confidence before they're going into playoffs if you're Boiling Springs, or do you look at it from the standpoint of every time they've played somebody that's really good, they've struggled, so you really don't know what you're going to get from this Boiling Springs team in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think you look at it both ways, Cole.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at their non-region schedule. They had Greer, Malden, Chapman. They opened up the season a dominant performance over Greer, and I would be interested to see how that game played out if it were, just a month later in the season when Greer actually started hitting their stride and playing what we've come to know as Greer football. I mean, Boiling Springs has to figure out how to win the big games, and that's a tough thing to do.
Hard to do that in the playoffs too.
Definitely hard to do that in the playoffs, especially. Boiling Springs is what, 5th or 6th largest school in the state, so they're playing in that big division of playoffs, and not that there's really that much difference between the guys that are in 5A Division I and Division II when it comes to talent on the football field. But Boiling Springs, they're going to have the likes of Dutch Fork in that division, and Burns and Spartanburg, the teams that they've lost to.
Sure. I'm telling you, it's interesting to your point. And then you and I were at a game last night, Spartanburg Gaffney for the region championship. You mentioned that score earlier.
Was that a blowout?
It was not a blowout.
Oh, okay.
At times it felt like it could teeter-totter to not a blowout, but like Spartanburg. Let me say this, and we're going to hear from Jamarcus Smith first here in just about 30 seconds, Ben. By the way, Ben doing a great job back in the Ingles Market studios as always. But we're going to have Jamarcus Smith audio up first. Alex, I'll tell you this, that game, we'll continue to get into it as we hear these interviews, but it was a good game. Hats off, all the credit in the world to Gaffney for their will to win down the stretch, because they were down. They scored 20 unanswered points last night, Alex. I on the flip side, though, I will tell you this. I said it to a couple of people last night. If I'm Spartanburg, I want to burn that tape, and I want to burn that tape as quick as possible, because there were a lot of missed opportunities. Yes. I mean, missed opportunities in the first half and the second half. Spartanburg had a couple of chances to go. I mean, in the first half, it could have been 31-7 Spartanburg.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of missed opportunities last night for Spartanburg. And that's not really something that they're used to this season in terms of the missed opportunities. Usually they had capitalized on those pretty well. And maybe they in the second half, when Gaffney started fighting back a little bit, especially near the fourth quarter, maybe they were a little tight just because of the atmosphere and kind of the feeling of, okay, let's not lose this, right? Playing more tight than you are loose and free. And I don't know if that were the case last night. But first, let's hear from Jamarcus Smith. I caught up with him, after last night's win for Gaffney over the Spartanburg Vikings. Here's Jamarcus Smith. Second, maybe third time, kind of had to be helped off the field. You can't say you don't leave it all on the field. What did you feel like you had to do tonight to get the win?
Everything, I wanted this win so bad. Like my teammates.
All right, you're coming right back.
Right now, my teammates wanted to win. I wanted to win. Whatever it took, that's what I was going to do.
Can you count Gaffney out?
Nah, never, no sir.
Thanks, Jamarcus.
Yes, sir.
How about that? How about that, Jamarcus Smith, Alex? Look, You've watched a lot of high school football games. You follow Gaffney week in and week out. I've I've seen a lot of different teams in the 12 years I've been broadcasting high school football, and I've said this year, I think Jamarcus Smith's one of the most special talents that I've seen. Obviously, there's a lot of good players, and I was talking to Gaffney's athletic director last night, Malcolm Long, who was a pretty good player himself, by the way, and he saw a lot of really good athletes. But we were talking about, like, just in recent history, how good Jamarcus Smith is, and there's not a lot of high school athletes that are just as capable as doing whatever's needed. You know, we use the word or the term Swiss Army knife a lot, but I think Jamarcus is a true example of a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, he really is, Cole. And you and I have mentioned it time and time again on this program here that if Gaffney's going to win games, they've got to get the ball in Jamarcus's hands.
He's good,
and man. He's just that
He's
good.
the best player.
Last night was the first game this season that he's not scored.
Wow.
And so that tells you just what he's been able to do for Gaffney in previous games this season. But then, you know, you talk about last night, Gaffney had Jaden McDowell back from an injury. They had Shane Davidson back from an early season
Who had
injury.
3 touchdowns?
Yeah, 3 touchdowns. So, I mean, when you have a team that's healthy, and I'm not saying that Gaffney was 100% healthy last night because you had Andrew Roop out there with a big club on his left hand. He was playing, but you can't say that a guy that's out there with a club on his left hand is 100% healthy.
Yeah.
When you have a team that's healthy, you don't necessarily have to rely on that all-star athlete anymore. But Jamarcus
helps
Smith,
having those.
it
other
helps
pieces.
having But Jamarcus Smith has been 100% a playmaker for Gaffney this year
He's
and
been
has
so good.
been able to win games single-handedly for the Indians.
Jaden McDowell, you mentioned running back. He was back last night. Obviously, they kind of worked him in the week before against Wade Hampton, but he was kind of back in a bigger capacity. Here is what Jaden McDowell, the running back for Gaffney, had to say after last night's win. Here with Jaden McDowell for the Saturday morning scramble. Jaden, you guys obviously fourth quarter coming around, down a couple of scores. What was the message on the sideline?
You know, we had to keep our hands up. We had a couple of things that didn't go our way, but we can't let that
40-second clip.
We just have to keep our head up.
I feel like even when you were down, I feel like you guys were still the better team.
Yeah. They're a good football team. The brotherhood we have over here, we never gonna let the team just slip away from us.
A lot of
We all
talk
gonna keep going.
A lot of talk this week about their defense and how good their defense was, but for you guys to be able to run the ball effectively, even late in the game, still down, what's that mean?
You know, they do have a good
Coming
defense,
right back,
but we've
10
been
seconds.
preparing for this all week, so we just had to come out here and do what we had to do.
You guys felt like your offensive line got a push there, a little bit of urgency in the fourth quarter as well.
Yes, sir, they definitely did. They was feeling the energy, and they just had to come through it.
Congratulations, Jaden, again. That was Jaden McDowell, the running back for Gaffney. Listen, you know, working him back in, it was, you mentioned it, Alex, very big for the Indians last night. They'll definitely need him if they want to have a successful postseason run. They're definitely going to have to rely on 2 a little bit, and they did last night. And then for the final player interview, I caught up with Andrew Roop after the game, linebacker. As you said, he was all banged up. You know, his elbow, his hand, you name it, all the above. But guess what? It didn't stop Andrew Roop. Here's what he had to say after last night's region championship win.
Well, you know,
This is wrong audio, Ben. Let's try that again. That was Dan Jones. We'll get to that in the 9 o'clock hour. But Andrew Roop audio, if you do have it, let me know.
With Andrew Roop,
Here it is.
Saturday morning scramble. Andrew, good game tonight. Obviously, you came into this one a little banged up. What was your mentality coming in, even though you were injured last week?
win. I mean, it's Coach Jones' last regular season home game ever. Region championship and senior night. I mean, and it's on TV. Gaffney don't lose like that. Gaffney don't lose on TV. Gaffney don't lose at senior night. Gaffney don't lose for the region championship. Gaffney does not lose in those situations. So we came into this with the mindset to win. That's what we were thinking about.
What would it have taken for you not to play tonight?
A lot. I would
About
have
a minute left.
I was playing. I was playing football.
You guys obviously got down. Was the mentality on the sideline ever that you guys were out of it?
It was never that we're out of it. It was a lot of do your job. You know, you're not doing your job. You need to come out there. You need to step up. You need to do your job. It was a lot of holding people accountable for what they're doing on the field and what their job is and what they need to do. So it was more holding people accountable.
A lot of talk all week about Spartanburg's defense and how good they were. Did you guys come in with a chip?
Yeah, a lot. 'Cause we have a team meeting every Friday, and he brought up today that Spartanburg's number 2, and FYI, you are not number 1. We're number 4. So we kind of came into it with the chip on our shoulder because, of course, we believe that we're the best defense in the state. You know, if I'm not mistaken, before this game, we
All right,
had
coming
held
back. Another 10
overall under
seconds.
200 rushing yards all season. So we had a little bit of a chip on our shoulder for that.
How's your arm, hand, whatever it is?
Elbow's good.
Elbow.
Hand's broken. It's all right. I'll be playing. Don't
Glove
worry.
it up.
Oh, yeah.
Any pain?
Nah, feel great. I like it. Feel good.
Congratulations, Andrew. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
I tell you what, man, he's awesome, isn't he? I mean, how do you not pull for that kid and what he's done at Gaffney? And kind of similar last year. Got injured toward the end of the season and had to miss the Dutch Fork game where Gaffney lost in the playoffs, Alex. But just a competitor, just the true definition of a competitor. And that was probably, I've interviewed a lot of high school kids, but that answer he gave was one of my favorites. What the very first question. And Ben, can you play the very first part of that clip again? I don't want to misquote what I said because I got like 2 hours of sleep last night.
Down here with Andrew Root for the Saturday morning scramble. Andrew, a good game tonight. Obviously, you came into this one a little banged up. What was your mentality coming in, even though you were injured last week?
Win.
There you go. There you go. That's it. What was your mentality? Win. And it was very simple. I mean, I love that. That's what kind of, a team player. That's what kind of player Andrew Roop is. Also, we have Coach Ramsey of Mountain View Prep joining us live at 8:40. We hear from Dan Jones at 9:05. I had some audio from him last night after the win, and then we'll hear from Matthew Rochester coming up at 9:20 in hour number 2. Riverside win. Riverside Warriors did win last night, and Coach Rochester will join us a little bit later on the program. But, kind of going back into last night, Alex, I thought that Spartanburg came out and played really well. Similar to what they did against Bowling Springs early in the season. They, went up 27-0, something like that. And Spartanburg, listen, I picked Spartanburg because I felt like Spartanburg was the better team, and through 3 quarters they were. However, you got to play 4 quarters. And, man, I said it a minute ago, there were a lot of missed opportunities last night for the Vikings. Gaffney, I don't know if you remember this or not. You and I were talking earlier in the week, and I said, man, I don't know why, but this one has that feel of the one in 2019 where Burns and Gaffney played in the playoffs. Almost, I know the turnovers were different, but almost a very similar storyline. In 2019, that playoff game, Burns went up early.
Yep.
But guess what Burns did? They had a lot of missed opportunities. They were only up 13-0 that night. They could have been up 21-0 because they had 3 straight possessions offensively before Gaffney even got the football.
Yeah.
And then guess what? Burns played well first 3 quarters, let Gaffney hang around. Gaffney ends up winning the game 2019. And I told you earlier in the week that last night's game going into it kind of had that feel. And boy, if it didn't. I mean, you let Gaffney hang around. 4th quarter comes around. And I was really impressed with Javon Gilmore in the 4th quarter. I thought he threw some really good passes. The defense played well, made stops. And it was just one of those things, man. Like, if you leave Gaffney, if you don't put your foot on their throat at home for the region championship, kind of like Andrew Roop said, it's going to be hard. And I don't know if Spartanburg started playing tight, but offensively, I think Gaffney started bringing a lot more. I don't know if bringing a lot more pressure is the correct term, but Gaffney started bringing pressure that really impacted Spartanburg's offense in that 4th quarter. And you saw last night, Alex, you let them hang around and they can get you.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Cole. I mean, I felt like in the 4th quarter, Spartanburg kind of changed their game plan and they started playing. I mean, you mentioned it looked like they were playing a little bit tight, but I felt like they had changed their game plan and that they were playing to protect the lead instead of playing to win the game. That's the way it looked for me, was they were playing to protect their lead instead of playing to win the game. And you mentioned it, there were missed opportunities. There were some, I mean, both sides of the ball, week in, week out, you can probably say that there's some questionable officiating here and there. But realistically, in the long run, Gaffney did more in that 4th quarter to win the game than Spartanburg did to try to stop Gaffney from winning.
Yeah. And you know what? I was so impressed with Shane Davidson last night, who's been injured, the past few weeks. And, was dealing with some injuries and came back last night, and boy, did he show up. How many catches did he have total?
4 receptions
in 3
for
touchdowns.
92 yards and 3 touchdowns.
So 3 of the 4 receptions, touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I would be willing to say right now 75% of his receptions on the season are all touchdowns.
Sure.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
when he catches the ball, it's usually in the end zone. That's how good he's been all season long. So look, he's a great kid. And Jamarcus Smith is too. And to see those guys will their way in the fourth quarter. And now you can officially say that Mark Hodge, who is a fantastic football coach, just a little bit of history that I don't know if we ever thought we'd say. Mark Hodge has never beaten Dan Jones and never will beat Dan Jones, Alex. I don't know if we ever thought we'd be able to say that, but the fact that those two won't play each other in the postseason because one's Division I, one's Division II, and Dan Jones retiring at the end of the season, I asked him, what you'll hear in the 9 o'clock hour, about being 5-0 against Mark Hodge. You'll hear that answer coming up in hour number 2. But what an accomplishment, Alex, for Dan Jones last night to go undefeated against one of the better coaches in the area in Mark Hodge.
Yeah, absolutely, Colin. Just not to backtrack, but overall season stats for Gaffney right now is Shane Davidson, 13 receptions, 8 of those are touchdowns.
That's
so
pretty close.
There you go.
Pretty close.
But yeah, I mean, for Mark Hodge,
That's insane.
I mean, yeah, Mark Hodge, we know what he's done in the past. We know what he was able to do at Chapman. Heck, he's had some good Spartanburg teams. I mean, you look at the 2021 team where both of those teams were Gaffney
I think
and,
he won a region
and Spartanburg.
that year,
Where Gaffney and Spartanburg played twice. And, I mean, for Dan Jones to, I mean, we all know what Dan Jones has done. He's the winningest coach in Gaffney football history, which is saying something. But for him to have really just continue to cement his legacy and you mentioned it. He's 5-0 against Mark Hodge. Mark Hodge that's always going to be a target on Mark Hodge's back.
Well, it's just going to be something that, I'm sure he really, really wanted that one last night.
Yeah.
But again, you have to credit Spartanburg for the effort they had in the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, I don't want to say fell asleep at the wheel, but it kind of seemed that way.
Yeah.
And Gaffney made a lot of good plays. All the credit in the world goes to Gaffney last night. We're going to take a break, come back, talk a little 3A football with head football coach of Mountain View Prep in their first season. Gray Ramsey joins the Saturday Morning Scramble next.
Scramble, powered by Founders Federal Credit Union and your local Ingles Market.
This is the Fan Upstate.
We're coming back, no bad.
97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Streaming everywhere on the Odyssey app.
Hour number one of the Saturday morning scramble rolling on. Appreciate you being a part of the show as we're talking a little high school football. And we are live, by the way, at 10903 Anderson Road in Piedmont. It's technically Powdersville. So if you are in the area and want to talk a little high school football, you can do so. I'm Cole Bryson, Alex Guest to my right. I want to say thanks to Founders Federal Credit Union, Ingles Markets, and Lumos Internet. Lumos, built for the future. And bringing in the head football coach of Mountain View Prep, Gray Ramsey. Coach, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Good morning. How are you guys?
Wonderful, as always, on little sleep, but you know how that is. That's just part of it on the weekends during high school football season. A big win for you in Mountain View Prep last night, 48-7 over Union County. Look, I know it's you guys' first season ever. We talked to you a few weeks ago back at Ingles, I believe before the hurricane, if I'm not mistaken. But now that you kind of have had a chance to not only win last night and get that final regular season win, but a chance to look back on the first season for Mountain View Prep. What are your thoughts on this season number one that you guys had?
Yeah, it's been a blur at times, but it's went really fast. Just really proud of our players, really proud of our staff. You know, there's been a lot of challenges, and not just starting a program, but starting a brand new school. And we've been very fortunate to have some positive results. So we've done a really good job there. And then it's just been exciting for me. I think every time that we get a chance to go and play and we get a chance to spend a week together, we're a little bit better. And sometimes that's not even on the football field. You know, we're better at some of the things behind the scenes that I think has a lot to do whether you're a successful football team or not. You know, from how you warm up to your grades to your behavior to, you know, your structure, how you dress, how you approach things. Just every time we get a chance to be around each other one more week, we're a little bit better in all facets of the program. So it's been fun for me. You know, the extension with the hurricane week gave us a bye week last week. So it was good to get back into action last night. And then, you know, it's a new season. So here we go. You know, I'm proud of what we've accomplished, but everybody resets this week. So we're 0-0 and have to have a mindset that we've got to continue to get better as we move forward.
Talking to Gray Ramsey, the head football coach of Mountain View Prep. Before we get into last night's game, you mentioned challenges, and I know when you open a program, obviously you have a list. You have a list of challenges, I'm sure, that you have to navigate through, Coach. But, you know, when you guys opened to the time you started the football program, how did you as a coach and you and your staff kind of tell the team to just kind of block out a lot of the outside noise, because there was a lot of outside noise when you guys first started and got cranked up? How did you and your staff go about that and approach that?
Yeah, I think it comes from a relational part, and you know, that's kind of always been the backbone of our program, and really just trying to spend time with them and to speak life into them about things that really matter. You know, I'm a football coach, so I really love to go and compete on Friday nights, and that's a really fun part of my job. But, you know, the ultimate calling that we have in this profession is, you know, trying to prepare these young guys for their future and understanding what matters. And that's from an eternal significance standpoint. That's from, you know, who they are as people and making sure that they're prepared as they go beyond. So we spend a lot of time talking about other things, and I think that helps take the focus off of, you know, a lot of the outside noise is centered around the actual game of football or what they thought would show up on a scoreboard. So we try to do a good job of keeping things into perspective and trying to make sure that they understand, you know, what this game allows you to learn and what the foundations of your life are there. So we've done a good job. You know, we've got a really small staff, which is, you know, in a really small school. So a lot of these kids get to be around their position coaches every day. They get to be around me every day. It's hard to hide. So when you're there, you get to spend a lot of time together. So I think it's helped from that standpoint for us to be able to kind of focus on things that we really want to look at.
Coach, obviously Union County and in a similar situation, not with the program being in the first year, but with a new staff over at Union County. What did you feel like going into last night's game, or where did you feel like you guys would have an advantage?
Yeah, Coach Johnson, he's doing a great job. You know, he's in a little bit of a different situation than us, but obviously, you know, building a a new program, and you can tell every time you look at a game from week to week, they were getting better. For us, and it's, what we looked at and where we could be successful is continue to kind of find our identity. We're kind of to that point now where we've used this time together to really find out, who are we? I think defensively we've done a great job of stopping the run, and what they like to do is run the football. So we really felt good about going into the game and trying to make them put the ball into the air, and was hopefully going to come away with some opportunities to create some turnovers. That's something that as we move forward in the playoffs, I think we've got to do a better job of is creating those big turnovers. They're key in playoff games, as you know. And then offensively, continuing to add more things to our plate, with me being a more of an offensive-minded coach. Had to be careful because there's so many things throughout the year that you kind of want to jump to as you're building your playbook and you're building your schemes because you really like something, but understanding we only get a very limited time with high school athletes in preparation time. So not jumping steps. So we've kind of used this time, and every week we add something new to our plate. So we went in last week or this past Friday and wanted to add a little bit of some wrinkles so that we can, hopefully as we get into these next few weeks, if we're blessed enough to continue to play, that we've got a little bit more of a full plate to our arsenal. And it's been tough. You don't have a spring practice. You didn't have a ton of time in the summer together. So we're still continuing to find out what we do best.
Coach, by the way, we're talking to Gray Ramsey, the head football coach of Mountain View Prep in their first season. Coach, you guys in a lot of those Region 3 or 3A games this season just absolutely blew the doors off your opponents. I mean, big wins for you guys. What do you look at in terms of the playoffs of where you are now versus where you need to get? Because obviously a lot of good teams in 3A that you could see in the postseason. Do you feel like you guys have played the schedule that has prepared you for that postseason?
Yeah, well, it was nice for us to get off to start. There's some crossover games that may come back into play. We played St. Joseph's earlier in the year, and it looks like that could be a potential second-round game. And we were in a very close game with them, up until halftime, and then, we played really well in the second half. We've had our moments where we've been down at halftime. We've had, moments where in our region we've been in really close ball games. You go back and look at the Chapman game, it's 9-7 at halftime, and, we make some adjustments in the second half, and then the Woodruff game was close the entire way. And so I think our region play really prepared us. And then everything that we do, it's a new situation for us. How do we handle, when a couple of breaks don't go our way? We needed some of those moments. So I feel like we've been tested the appropriate way, and I hope that it pays, dividends for us as we move along. But, it'll be a tough road for us. So we're looking forward to the challenge, and I hope that, I told our seniors we're guaranteed one more week together. That's all we have. So to earn another one, we've got to go out and play well, and hopefully we get to maximize our time together.
Coach, to my right, Alex Guest is working feverishly to kind of update these schedules and brackets. High school league maybe before Christmas they'll have them online. But do you guys have any idea who your opponent? I know Alex thought it could be Carolina. Do you have any idea of who your opponent may be?
Yes, sir. We'll be hosting. I say host in a loose way. Our home playoff games will be at Newberry College, where we've been at some during the regular season. But we'll play Carolina on Friday.
Cool. That's awesome. Perfect. So Carolina at Mountain View Prep at Newberry College on Friday, first round playoff matchup. And that was a team that you did not play during the regular season, so I'm sure you'll be watching them here pretty soon. Coach, as always, we appreciate your time, and best of luck on Friday.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you for what you guys do for high school athletics. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's Gray Ramsey, the head football coach of Mountain View Prep. Alex, you're 1 for 1. You called that one correct. I guess it's kind of like the election calling states here, but you've got Carolina versus Mountain View. No disrespect, but how's Can you ask the question that I'm going to ask before I ask the question?
How is Carolina in the playoffs with a 1-8 overall record? They went 0-5.
Everybody
in their
makes it in
region.
3.
Everybody
right?
makes it in 3A.
So
yes,
I answered my own question, but good Lord,
the Mountain View Prep has the number 1 overall seed in the Upstate in 3A playoffs.
Okay,
and so they got matched up with the 16 overall seed or Region 2 number 6 finisher. So Carolina with 1 win on their season, and that was over Southside. And you do the math there. You played
I'd rather not. I'd rather
Southside,
not.
and
I'm good. I think I'll pass.
Southside 0-10. So
yeah. Wow, is all I can say about that. Again, I know 3A, everybody makes the play.
Yep.
I don't like it. I don't like that everybody makes the playoffs in 3A. A 1-8, did you say 1-8, 1-9,
1-8. Yep.
1-8, a 1-8 team in no world should ever make the playoffs. No disrespect to Carolina and those kids and those coaches. I'm sure they work hard. I'm sure they practice hard. But you're 1-8. Look, I know the system, we're tweaking it this year, trying to make it better and better. But I don't know in any world how that is even. Let's. I digress.
Real quick,
1-8 Carolina in the postseason.
Real quick, while
Real
we're,
quick, yeah,
while we're
go
on
ahead.
that topic, I know we got to get to a break, but had Jersey Joe on the Facebook stream
Yes.
ask if Christchurch won their region with their win last night. Powdersville actually won that region. Powdersville went 5-0 in the region.
And I tell you what,
Christchurch lone loss was to Powdersville. Looks like Christchurch will be hosting West Oak this next week
good matchup for them.
if everything is playing out as I think.
I'll tell you this. We talked to Robert Muster right here
Yeah.
a few
Yeah.
months ago.
We did.
And I'll tell you this. They started the season off, pretty slow. But, boy, have they turned it around in region play? They lost, their first 3 or 4 games?
First 3 games, they lost Seneca, Abbeville, and Wren. Then beat Pendleton and Broome before the hurricane came through. And then they went 5-0 in the region.
That's big time, man. That is big time. So Powdersville also, Powdersville also a region champion from last night. Appreciate Gray Ramsey hopping on with us as well. You just heard him. If you missed it, you can go back and listen to it anytime with the free Odyssey app, AUDACY. If you have not downloaded the app yet, please do so. It's the best way for you to anytime listen to the Fan Upstate. We heard audio from Jamarcus Smith, Jaden McDowell, Andrew Roop. You just heard from Coach Ramsey. I'll have some audio from Dan Jones coming up at the top of the hour, and we'll also be joined by Matthew Rochester of Riverside High School coming up in hour number 2, getting your thoughts on games last night, putting a bow on Week 11. Still several more games to discuss from last night, Alex, and the brackets. You've got them over there. You are feverishly working to get those done. All that and more coming up in hour number 2. Saturday Scramble brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union, Ingalls Markets, and Lumos Internet. Lumos, built for the future.
Union, official credit union of the Saturday Morning Scramble, and your local Ingalls Market.
It's the Saturday Morning Scramble on the Fan Upstate.
Hour number 2 of the Saturday Morning Scramble, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union, Ingalls Markets, Lumos Internet, Lumos built for the future. So good to be with you. I'm Cole Bryson. He's Alex Guest. So much to get to. Hour number 1. Man, you just missed it. It was a good hour, but if you did miss it, again, I told you a minute ago, you can go back and listen anytime on the free Odyssey app, AUDACY. That is the app that you need to download to listen to the Fan Upstate anytime, anywhere. We have audio from Dan Jones coming up in just a few minutes from now. We'll talk to Matthew Rochester, head football coach of Riverside, in about 20 minutes from now. Alex, you and I, for those that just tuned in, had a pretty good night last night. And we had the same record. Is that the first time all season we've had the same record?
No, I don't think so.
I think it is.
No,
I think so.
No, I don't think so.
You want to make a bet? You're cheating.
How am I cheating?
I think it is. I think it's the first time. We
Okay.
both went. I could be wrong, but in the last week, I know it for sure.
In the last week, yeah,
That's about how far my memory goes back.
Week 8, we both were 20-5.
Oh,
so,
gosh. Okay. So
yeah.
your memory is better than mine. We both went 21-2 last night. I lost the Christchurch St. Joe's game. I picked St. Joe's.
You picked St. Joe's.
You picked Christchurch.
I
You got
picked-
that one
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Christchurch won the game. I also picked Spartanburg to beat Gaffney. Spartanburg did not beat Gaffney. So I got that one wrong.
They didn't?
They did not,
Oh, okay.
allegedly. The 2 games that you got wrong, Wahala over Crescent.
Yeah.
Your wife was helping us get scores last night, and she said that one wasn't close. So the 2 games you lost were blowouts,
Yeah.
Alex. And you also lost Blacksburg Chesney.
Yeah.
I think you were just picking those because you picked opposite, maybe so? Or Cherokee County. Ty?
Really, I really don't know what I was doing.
So
had I picked the same as you on those 2 games and
you would have
stuck with my
undefeated, Alex.
I should have.
Undefeated if and buts were candies and nuts, right? So we both went 21-2,
Yeah.
puts you at 212-46 on the season, 82% completion percentage if you're throwing touchdown passes, but for us, we're picking games, so you pick correctly 82.17% of the time. Puts me at 216-42
It's also
on the
an
season.
822 batting average.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. We'd
pretty
make
good.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
83.72% for me. We'd be rich. So a lot of games last night. Before we hear the Dan Jones audio, which is really funny. I mean, it's Dan's
great
great interview anyways, but at the very end, oh man, it's I'm not going to say taking a shot, but just kind of going out with a good old mic drop, if you will. So we'll hear that in a few minutes, but first, Alex Guest, scores from last night for those that just tuned in. What happened in Week 11?
Week 11 scores from last night. Greenville defeated Easley 49-21. Greenwood a 35-13 winner over Malden. T.L. Hanna knocks off Hillcrest 43-21, and J.O. Mann a 35-6 winner over Woodmont. Greenwood, T.L. Hanna, and J.O. Mann should have a share of that region title. Boiling Springs defeats Eastside 41-6. Wade Hampton falls to Riverside 44-20. Wade Hampton drops to 0-9 on the season.
Ooh, tough year for Ruben Wright, first-year head coach, right?
That looks delicious.
Want my bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit from
Yeah.
Ingalls Markets?
Yeah.
Did you know, by the way, I mean, how awesome is Ingalls? Select Ingalls locations serves breakfast.
I know, right?
It's pretty good, man.
For somebody that got 2 hours of sleep last night.
You me?
Yeah.
Me? What are you talking
That-
about?
that's
I don't know
pretty
what you're
good
talking
for
about.
you. Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, back to scores.
Back to scores, sorry.
Gaffney wins their region 27-24. Come from behind win over Spartanburg. Wren 42-25 winners over Emerald. Fountain Inn a 35-14 win over Lawrence. Westside blanks Southside 61-0. Pickens blanks Berea 52-0. And Pendleton and Blue Ridge, they go out of region to end the season. 26-0 winners for Pendleton over the Fighting Tigers of Blue Ridge. Daniel 42-21 winners over Seneca. Greer blanks Travelers Rest 51-0. Crescent blanks Walhalla 42-0. Palmetto 57-6 winners over Carolina. Christchurch a 34-14 winner at St. Joseph's. Powdersville blanks Southside Christian 44-0. Woodruff a 35-14 winner over Broome. Mountain View Prep, they win their region with a 48-7 win over Union County. Chesney, 47-13 winners over Blacksburg. Clinton defeated Liberty 42-22. Abbeville, 48-6 winners at McCormick. And Whitmire falls at home to Ware Shoals, 36-34.
How about that? Those are, Alex, the final
Don't say
scores
it. Don't say it.
of the regular
Don't say
season
it.
that you'll read in 2024. How
said
sad
it.
is that?
You said it.
I said it. It's so bad. It's so sad. High school football season. It comes and it goes just in the snap of a finger. Obviously, we love high school football. It's sad to see it go so quickly, but the postseason is now here, and we're going to have some brackets, some brackets.
Maybe.
Is that how you say brackets in French?
Probably.
It's close enough,
Yeah.
right?
Like fragile.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I was basing it off of.
Yeah.
But let's hear from the region champion, Dan Jones, and his final season ever at Gaffney High School after a big win last night, a come-from-behind win, as you mentioned, Alex, for the Gaffney Indians over the Spartanburg Vikings. Here's Dan Jones.
About the comeback. I mean, what
Well, we had you tell the kids at halftime somebody's got to go make plays for us. They had a couple of kids make some plays, and we had Jaden to make a couple of runs. One of them he got a fumble, but took a positive.
we got 2 minutes
for
on
them,
this.
and that hurt his feeling. But he came back and did some great things for us, and Shane making those big catches was huge, and then, we had other guys, Eli and, of course, Junior. And, we just found a way, and we got to figure out what it is that we can do consistently. And then we got to push it to the.
Well, it looked like you tried some new stuff there.
Yeah, we did, but we didn't have a lot of success with it. So, we got to block better up front on the offensive line. That's just one, we just got to do that. And if we do that, we got a tailback. Y'all seen it. He make 2 miss in the backfield and make another miss and still only get 1 yard. We can't do that. We got to be able to run the football to get to where we want to get to. So,
Coach, I know big picture for the season, you kind of want to find an identity and figure things out. But what you've kind of learned this season is just take it game by game and find a way to win each game, right?
Well, you're right about that. And each situation's a little different, Cole. So, but we got to find – they've been able to find a way to win. We got to figure out a way to control the ball a little more where we can move the chains 10 yards, 12 yards, 15 yards, 10 yards instead of 35 and, -5. We got to figure out a way to move the chains a little bit more consistent.
You said about your quarterback. He's had a couple of rough outings, but tonight.
Yeah, he had a big game tonight. Made some great throws. He had a couple of miscues, but who don't? When you playing a good defense, we were playing a team that was 7-1, 8-1, and they were a good opponent. So I think our quarterback did really well against a good opponent.
Coach, you never lost to Mark Hodge. I know you probably don't think about that now, but do you think you'll look back on one day and think about that?
I probably won't. I'm sure he will.
We're coming back.
Oh, what an answer. Do you love Dan Jones or not? You were down there last night, and I kind of looked up at your face when you started dying laughing. Maybe the quote of the year.
Man.
Maybe is that quote of the year
I
worthy
think so.
from Dan Jones last night?
Yeah.
I asked him again. You're 5-0 against Mark Hodge. Do you ever think about that, or do you think you ever will? And Dan says, well, I don't know if I will, but I know he will. I mean, you got to love the rivalry, right? I mean, it's one of the best rivalries in the state of South Carolina, if not the best. And for Dan Jones to accomplish that 5 in a row against Mark Hodge, that's impressive. That is very, very impressive, especially when you talk about the caliber of coach that Mark Hodge is. And, always love talking to Dan Jones. So that was audio from Coach Jones, the head football coach with the Gaffney Indians last night. We'll be joined by Matthew Rochester in about 22 minutes right here on the Saturday Morning Scramble. Again, brought to you by Ingles Markets, Founders Federal Credit Union, as well as Lumos Internet. Lumos, built for the future. Going through last night's games before we start dabbling, before we start teasing this this playoff week 1 bracket, Alex, that you are working on. I mean, you've got more colors and spreadsheets over there than I know what to do. And you know how much spreadsheets confuse me. You're not going to send that to me, are you?
No. Don't,
Okay.
don't worry. I'm not,
Because you know I'm
not.
I'm pretty.
I know how you are.
ignorant when it comes to.
You're pretty computer illiterate.
But I shouldn't be.
You
It's just-
shouldn't be.
It's
no.
just the spreadsheets for whatever reason, man. They really do. They really do get to me. Also, a very big win last night for Clinton over Liberty. You know,
Yeah.
a much improved Liberty team
Oh,
actually,
yeah.
but the battle of the Red Devils last night. Alex, Clinton 42, Liberty 22. Clinton, man, what Corey Fountain has done there. I mean, we don't talk about it a lot because Clinton's not necessarily right in our coverage area. But what Corey Fountain's done at Clinton is nothing short of exceptional. They're a contender every single season, Alex. And to see them win last night, it's not really a surprise. And then how about the win for the local, right here in Spartanburg County, the local Chesney Eagles, who, by the way, very, very soon will be at the Ingalls in Chesney right there off of 221. Is that
Next week.
Next week?
Yeah,
Is that
next
what
week.
Wardlaw
Yeah.
Street is. Last night, 47-13. And I know Blacksburg, they're not a team that can really compete with those guys, but still a really impressive win. And I believe Chesney has now won two straight games, 2 or 3 in a row. Really a very impressive finish for Brett Chappell in his first season, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, Chesney, you mentioned it. They've won 2 in a row. They've actually won 3 region games in a row. They went out of region a couple weeks ago to play Crescent. That was a loss for them. But to end the season with 3 straight region wins in Brett Chappell's first season, you mentioned it, they started the season 2-3.
Wow.
And those 2 wins were Walhalla and Rutherford Central. Out of North Carolina, their losses to start the season: Pendleton, Broome, and Woodruff. So, no easy non-region schedule by any stretch of the imagination. But you talk about a Chesney team that's really found their stride here late in the season, going into the playoffs. I mean, it bodes well for Brett Chappell and his team.
Well, I think that's impressive because you and I talk to a lot of coaches who talk about their first year and how many challenges, right, there are in your first year. And, obviously Brett Chappell has had challenges at Chesney, but for his first season as head football coach of the Eagles, I mean, he's done a really good job. Chesney has been a solid team this year, so a big win for them last night, 47-13. We did talk to Gray Ramsey of Mountain View Prep. Woodruff with a big win, Alex, 35-14 over Broome. You and I both picked that game correct, but Woodruff, other than the MVP game, which was a shootout, a track meet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Woodruff's had a heck of a season. And Brett Sloan in his second season, some challenges last year with his first season, as we just talked about, right? But what he's done in his second season, they're a legitimate contender in 3A.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they're 8-1. You mentioned it. Their one loss was Mountain View Prep. That was 40,
only one loss.
Only one loss,
Wow.
40-38 to Mountain View Prep. And outside of that, they've had again, you set up your non-region schedule for good region games and to be able
But
to.
They had Clinton.
Go ahead. Yeah, they started the season with
That's a
Clinton.
big,
They beat
big
Clinton.
win, yeah.
They beat Fountain Inn, Emerald, Woodmont, Chesney. Again, one loss to Mountain View Prep. That was coming out of the hurricane layoff, kind of. So they actually went 3 weeks without playing a game. They played September 20th at Chesney and then did not play again until October 18th against Mountain View Prep. So
They didn't lose a game until the 18th.
Didn't lose a game until October 18th.
It's nice. Very impressive. I mean, they've had a really good season. They have a really talented quarterback, really good offense. Our player of the week last week was Aiden Gibson.
Yep.
That kid's a sophomore, by the way. Just got offered from
It's
Coastal.
impressive.
I mean, really, really good running back over at Woodruff and Aiden Gibson. So he's going to be a lot of fun to coach. We've got some good running backs, good players in the upstate, as we always do. But, man, it's always fun to talk to our player of the weeks during the week on Wire to Wire. And Diesel and I interviewed him earlier this week. He was so well-spoken for a sophomore, man. I was just so impressed. And then looking last night, you mentioned Powdersville with a huge win, and that's where we are right now in Powdersville at Ingalls Markets. But big 44-0 win over Southside Christian. Southside Christian's had a little bit more difficult of a season this year, Alex, but Christ Church gets a much-needed win, 34-14 over St. Joe's, a big win for Quinn Hatfield and those guys. And then you look at, the rest of the games. You said it earlier, a lot of them were blanks, not close. A big win for Daniel over Seneca, who, by the way, an improved Seneca team, 42-21, but Daniel's a machine. We all know that, how good they are. So a lot of good games last night. And then obviously we talked about it. Gaffney, Spartanburg, Gaffney 27, Spartanburg 24, and a come from behind victory, Alex, for the Indians, where Gaffney scored 20 unanswered points. Final thoughts on that game before we kind of put a bow on it, because you and I were both there. I was on the field probably 3 quarters, and then in the press box for a quarter as well, just trying to mix it up and mix up the juju, if you will. But, it's a Gaffney team that you just heard from Dan Jones. That's why I wanted to ask him that question. Big picture-wise, you want to have this identity and you want to, figure things out. But at the end of the day, Alex, all that matters is winning the next game. And if Gaffney, with, the things still to try to figure out, an offensive line you heard Coach talk about, if they can just worry about their next game and then repeat that, they'll be playing for a few more weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. You just take it one game at a time, and that's really what you have to do. At this point, everybody's 0-0. You've got no wins on the record. You've got no losses on the record. Everybody's clean slate. Here you go. You're going into the playoffs. You just win the next game, and you keep playing. But, no, I mean, really, Cole, I think my final thoughts on that are you play till the end of the game.
Play 4 quarters.
And how many times have we seen Gaffney do that over the course of the years? I mean, I think back to even, the 2005 state championship game against Somerville, where you're going into the 4th quarter and, you're down 26-7, and you come back and you win that game 33-32. I mean, in the 4th quarter. Right? So you talk about the week prior to that, where Gaffney and Spartanburg are playing in the Upper State Championship, and you have the Prochak fumble, which is famous in Gaffney football lore, where basically Nick Prochak just had to kneel on the ball, and he fumbles the ball. Gaffney takes over and scores to make it to the state championship game. So you play till the final whistle. You play till the clock hits all zeros, and I think that's one thing last night. I mentioned it before. I think that's one thing last night where we don't – I didn't feel like Spartanburg played till the final whistle. I felt like they were playing to protect their lead more than they were to win the game.
Well, I mean, I tell you, you said you have to play 4 quarters. And for 3 quarters last night, Spartanburg looked really good. Really good.
Spartanburg looked like they might run away with it.
Yeah, and I thought in the first half they had a few chances to kind of not win the game, but kind of put the game out of reach. And a few more chances in the second half. It was a game where, again, I said it in hour number 1, all the credit goes to Gaffney for the way they fought down the stretch. But at the same time, if I'm Spartanburg, I do not want to have to go back and watch the film on that one, because there were so many missed opportunities last night for Spartanburg. So that one's going to be that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for Spartanburg fans for a long time, for Spartanburg coaches and players, because they feel like they had that one.
Yeah.
They feel like they had it and they got away. But we're going to take a break, Alex. Before we do that, any progress? I mean, any update on the high school leagues brackets in terms of if they've got them out yet, or what you have been working on over in the corner with your ink pen, your feather and ink?
You make it sound like I'm like,
well, you are. You're
in mom's basement.
That's right.
You know?
With your
well, I know that you really want the 5A bracket. I
don't care about 5A.
I know that's what you want.
I'm the 1A guy,
and that's a lot of what a lot of folks want. I have the entire 3A upper state bracket done. So
all right,
we can talk about that later on.
Okay.
I have the entire upper state 3A bracket done. Those are kind of easy because it's just where they finished in the region.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Working on trying to get kind of a picture of what 5A could look like.
Maybe by the time we wrap up the show, we'll have a better idea of that. We are going to run to a break, talk to Matthew Rochester on the other side. He is the head football coach of the Riverside Warriors. They had a big win last night. We'll talk all things Riverside next, right here on the Saturday Morning Scramble.
Founders Federal Credit Union, and your local Ingalls Market.
This is the Fan Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Streaming everywhere on the Odyssey app.
Continuing the conversation, high school football week 11 in the books. I'm Cole Bryson, joined by Alex Guest each and every Saturday morning. We're at 10903 Anderson Road in Piedmont, also known as Powdersville. Good to see Michael coming by the show earlier today. Even though he's wearing his Gamecock shirt, Michael, good to see you. He's got a South Carolina Gamecock shirt on today, pulling for his team to win. Appreciate all of you listening out there as well. I want to say thanks to Ingalls Markets, Founders Federal Credit Union, and Lumos Internet. Lumos, built for the future. We go back to the phones now, where we are joined by the head football coach of the Riverside Warriors, Coach Matthew Rochester. Coach, congratulations on the win last night over Wade Hampton. How are you?
Doing well. Appreciate it. Thank you for the win shout out there. It was a great night for the Warriors.
Absolutely was. 44-20 for the Warriors, as you mentioned, Coach, over Wade Hampton. Talk about last night's game. Look, Wade Hampton's a team that has had their challenges, and other coaches in the region that I talked to, Coach, have said that they have struggled to get their guys up for Wade Hampton and just get them motivated, because the reality is, no disrespect, it's not a big game in the region. Did your staff have issues with that as well last night, or did you feel that your team did get up for it?
Unfortunately, I got two unsportsmanlike flags in our Bowling Springs game, so I was serving my second game of suspension last night. So I was able to be in practice all week. Just wasn't able to be at the game. You kind of mentioned, kind of getting those guys up for the game. For us, it was a little unique. Reuben Wright at Wade Hampton. Great respect for him and everything that he does. My defensive coordinator is Tyson Wright, his younger brother. So we had a little bit of a motivational tactic there, kind of, having little brother go up against big brother, to kind of get up for that game. But, moving into this region, we expressed to our guys that it doesn't matter who you play. Every game is important. Especially now, I think you guys were mentioning about the playoffs and all the scenarios and things that can happen. Everything matters, and you can never take a week off. And so we expressed that with our guys this week, and, made sure that, they try to stay on task. And, and Coach Wright, he does a great job for me. I trust him and love him, and he did a great job of leading those guys last night.
We're joined by Matthew Rochester, the head football coach of the Riverside Warriors. Coach, apologize for going back to it, but for us that did not know, talk about what that was. You said a unsportsmanlike, and evidently the second one results in a head coach being suspended. I don't know if I knew that exact rule.
So we were taking we took a nice beating from Bowling Springs. Didn't agree with the call, and wanted to discuss it with the ref. But the rule is, if you get too unsportsmanlike, that is a cause for an ejection, and then your minimum, I believe the minimum rule for the high school league is 2 games, unless you're able to get that appealed, I guess, and to get knocked down. I know for coaches, a lot of time it's not as easy as it is, they're going to more side with the referees because of what they do for us, and so and I get that. I agree with it. So, just had to face what I did. Had to learn my lesson. I definitely learned my lesson having to be away from the sidelines for 2 nights. It's pretty tough for a guy who hasn't ever done that. But it's been a unique process. But I'm proud of the way of our guys have fought the last 2 weeks, and proud of the job Coach Wright has done. Taking over for me on Friday nights, and just our staff in general. You're only good as the people around you, and our staff has done a good job of dealing with these 2 unique weeks for us.
So does that change any preparation during the week, or preparations as normal, and you just can't be there on Fridays? Is that how it works, that rule?
I think you can still be at practices. I
Gotcha.
think you're still kind of we're late in the season, so JV's kind of dying down a little bit. But if you were to have those JV games, you would miss those games as well. During those 2 games that you have to miss. So there's a lot of different challenges that you face. But no, the guys have been good. You're able to prepare through the week. I think the toughest part is, that Friday night not being with your team. especially with a win. But, again, proud of Coach Wright, proud of our staff and our team and the way they performed last night.
What do you take away as a coach and as a staff, Coach Rochester, when you have tough games, against the top teams in the region? Number one, what do you take away? And then number two, how do you use that to get better and fuel your team because you're going to be seeing some tough competition in the postseason?
Yeah, it's a learning experience, and I think, it's the first time some of these kids have kind of seen this Division I, Division II, 5A type deals. You're playing teams in your region that you won't see in the playoffs. But, I think we've kind of taken that as an advantage or, as a challenge almost is, hey, look, we got to go out here and compete with these guys on a weekly basis. And that's just going to prepare you for postseason play, if we're able to make it there. And, sets us up in a good situation, especially now with, these RPI rankings. When you're playing really good talent, it's only going to help you, I guess, win or lose. So it's important for our guys to get that reps and to go get on the field, and learn. Hey, these are guys playing at a very high level, have played at, deep into November and practicing during Thanksgiving. So things that we want to try to get to and try to accomplish as a program, it's good to go against those teams and face those teams that have been there.
Coach, I know the brackets are still getting sorted out this morning. Do you and your staff have any idea of who Riverside could play on Friday?
Yeah, I think we've all been kind of tracking it a little bit. Again, I think, all of us don't really know. I think because I know once those automatic qualifiers get in, there's another kind of ranking system that will come into effect. And I guess I'm not too familiar with it yet with this year. So
neither am I.
So right now, right now we are thinking we would have Woodmont at home. We were thinking maybe we would be the 7th seed, maybe in that upper state Division II bracket, and be able to host the 10 seed at home in that first round. And then that would set us up going to, just from our projections, I guess that would still be Gaffney at that 2 seed from what we have.
Coach Rochester, before we let you go, Coach, for those that don't know, who have not followed Riverside football this year, you guys have got some really good talent on that, or some really good players, talented players on your football team. A few players that have had big seasons that you would like to recognize for those out there who may not know just about Riverside football in general, those players who've had big seasons for you.
I think everybody sees Mikael Skinner. He's our 4-star guy that's committed to Kentucky. Mm-hmm. He's actually gotten some defensive reps for us that he's kind of foreign to, but he's willing to do whatever it takes for our team to win. He's been fighting through some injuries, but it has been consistent all year for the most part. He's a really big athlete and is going to be explosive at the next level as well. Kind of keeping on the offensive side of the ball, our young quarterback, Gideon Merhib, he's a 10th grader. He's done a great job for us. He's kind of a lacrosse player, so you kind of see that escapability sometimes when he's in the pocket, when he's got guys around him. He's done a great job of keeping us in good situations and some tough games. And then I think he's got a variety of guys around him. Israel Lehman out at wide out, Keon Knowles at running back, and Roman Lucia up front blocking for him. Those guys on offense have done a really good job. And then kind of flipping over the defensive side of the ball, Samad Edie, he actually played a lot of offense for us last night. Actually was able to receive an offer from Kentucky last night during his four touchdown, 1 interception performance last night. So he's a name that he's a junior, and so he's going to be a name that kind of picks up for us. But Alvin Martin, Zacharias Martin, there's some other names, Spencer Adderley on defense. That have been really good contributors for us, and we're going to look to lean on those guys moving into postseason.
Coach, congratulations on the win last night. Appreciate your time, and best of luck in the postseason. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me, and appreciate all you guys do for high school football and high school sports.
Absolutely. That's Coach Matthew Rochester, the head football coach of the Riverside Warriors. Always good to talk a little Riverside football this morning on the Saturday Scramble. We're going to take a break, come back, and do our best to try to get some information to you of what could be next week, who could play who, all that and more coming up on the Saturday Scramble, brought to you by Ingles Markets, Founders Federal Credit Union, and Lumos Internet. Lumos, built for the future. Final segment of the show coming your way. It is the Saturday Morning Scramble. I'm Cole Bryson, Alex Guest to my right. Each and every Saturday morning right here on the Fan Upstate. So good to be with you this morning as Week 11 is behind us. And, Alex, we turn our eyes to the postseason, and you have all 5 classifications brackets done, right?
I got it. I got it before the high school league got it.
Well, let me tell you, even though you having them all done, which I was joking, would be impressive, getting them done before the high school league would not be. Just FYI.
Yeah. They'll
why can't you start on Friday night when the games are over? Have somebody – are we allowed to work late anymore in this society?
I don't think so. Look, the high school – I've got a prediction, Cole. The high school league –
Hold on. Drum roll. All right, now ready. Let's go.
The high school league will have the brackets published on their website
10:05.
Before state championship weekend.
I was going to say, usually our luck, it's like 10:05.
Oh, yeah.
The moment
it's
we go
going,
off.
yeah, it's going to be.
You know, it's that's just the way it works.
Well, there are some things that we know for sure that we can tell you that we know is absolute going to happen.
All right. Well, what those are 3A?
Well, 3A, I can tell you some things in 1A and in 2A. Other than that, you know.
Okay. Well, whatever you got.
Okay. Well,
you
Abbeville.
Let us know.
Abbeville will be the number 1 overall seed in 1A.
Okay.
We know that. They will play C.A. Johnson next week in the first round of the playoffs. That's really that's
all.
That's our coverage area for 1A.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So 2A, the 2A matchups, I can tell you that Liberty will host Andrew Jackson next week. Chesney will host the number 4 finisher from Region 2. So we can kind of go figure that one out. Landrum will be on the road at Pageland Central. So I got that much.
Pageland Central.
Pageland Central. Clinton is the number 1 overall seed in 2A, in 2A. So we'll from there, we'll kind of see how things play out.
Okay.
In 3A, this is the one that I have gotten the most out of.
Okay.
In 3A, and let me go back to my actual bracket that I've been.
You've got all these spreadsheets again. Here we go with the spreadsheets.
So in 3A, we mentioned it to you earlier. Mountain View Prep will have the number 1 overall seed in 3A. They will host Carolina next week. Walhalla will host St. Joe's. Christ Church will host West Oak. Crescent will host Union County. Belton Honeypath will host Southside Christian. Chapman will have a home game against Palmetto. Broome will be at Powdersville. And Pendleton will be at Woodruff.
How about that? So that's 3A.
That's 3A. I got that.
Well, I have a few.
Okay.
5A. A few. Actually, let's start with you did say Chesney?
I did say Chesney.
Who do you have, Chesney?
Well, so I don't have, let me double check.
Brett Chappell of Chesney says that it looks like they'll play 96.
Okay.
Looks like.
Well, that makes sense because that's where I had 96 as the 4 seed in that region, but did not.
And again, they're not official yet on the high school league, I don't believe. They should be sometime soon, but Brett Chappell of Chesney does let me know that it looks like they will play 96. Reggie Shaw of Burns says it looks like they'll have Lexington. Jake Morris of Dorman says it looks like they will have Boiling Springs at home.
Okay.
Which would be a game that never happened.
Yeah.
Due to the hurricane that is now going to happen. So the high school football gods are saying, hey, Boiling Springs Dorman has to happen. And Brent Bridges of Landrum does confirm Central Pageland for the Landrum Cardinals. So we'll continue to get these in. And we will, if you don't follow the show on Twitter, you need to do so because we'll have all the brackets on there at some point today at Fan Scramble. That's where you can find us on Twitter Alex is on Twitter at aguest519. I am at the Cole Bryson. Give us the follow at
Is
the
that
Fan
like
Upstate
the
as well.
Ohio State University?
Well, I had to
is that what
call
you're
Ohio
getting with?
State. I had to call Ohio State for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you had to get the
Trademark.
the trademark
That's
on,
right.
on the Cole Bryson.
Also, another text that just came in
Okay.
in real time. Brooms head football coach Lynn Fleming says they will play Powdersville on Friday night.
Let's see.
How many times has Broome played Powdersville in the last 5 years?
Well, that's what I said.
I know, but
Yeah.
I mean, does that matchup not happen to I could be dead wrong, but it seems like Broome Powdersville has happened a lot lately. So we're confirming, as Alex guessed, had 3A, has 2A, 3A, pretty dead on. 5A still coming in. I feel like it's election night and we're counting ballots or something. But Broome
and Powdersville have played every year since 2021.
So
they did not play in 2020. They played in 2019.
And you know what? Before that, nothing, right?
And that's nothing. Yeah.
So a new rivalry, I guess. A new rivalry between those
six
two
games
teams?
between the two teams since 2019 because they did play twice in 2021.
How about
and,
that?
Powdersville won both of those.
Okay.
Powdersville has a 4-2 record over Broome.
4-2 record over Broome. How about that? Not bad at all.
No,
not bad at all. So a lot of these brackets are still going to continue to come in as the matchups do. How about that though? If that turns out to be 100% correct, as it looks like, Jake Morris and the Dorman Cavaliers will play Bowling Springs like for a first round game. Sign me up. That might be one of the best first round games next week.
Look, and here's one of the positives that I take out of the new playoff format and the RPI and all of that is you're no longer and this was one of the points of discussion when it came to figuring out the new playoff format, but you're no longer having this, okay, region 1 is going to match up against region 2 and region 3 is going to match up against region 4, and you have the same playoff matchups year after year after year. Now you have situations where you're going to now you have situations where you're going to have teams that end up playing each other maybe twice in the same season, or maybe a situation where you've got teams that have never played each other before and they've never seen each other in the postseason before because it's kind of like the old days of cross bracketing, but you're not cross bracketing across the entire state.
Yep.
And so I think it's going to make for some interesting matchups.
And you did have Chapman Palmetto in 3A, is
Yes.
that right?
Yep.
So Harry Cavadas has confirmed that. So it looks like you were dead on there as the 3A brackets.
Man, it's
telling you,
like
man.
3A makes it easy and just goes off of region finish.
Well, I'll tell you, maybe that's the way it should be. But going back to Dorman hosting Bowling Springs, I said it a minute ago, that game, for those that do not know, did not happen because of the hurricane. You know, everybody in that region scratched a game, right?
Yep.
And it just so happened that game that they scratched was against Dorman. So now those two teams will get to play. I also did get confirmation from Bennett Swaggart of Hillcrest that Hillcrest will be playing Nation Ford in the first round of the playoffs. So a lot of updates already coming in with all classifications on who will be playing who. Again, Hillcrest playing Nation Ford. Hillcrest, what are you are you having a music festival over
I'm
there?
trying to get this nap, man. It's been flying.
I thought you were
around. It's been
clapping
like-
to the beat of the music. I mean,
Did
you kill a fly? Did you kill the night?
No,
Did you kill it?
I did not.
You've missed
It's
twice.
bothering me. I've missed like 7 times. It's,
You're showing your athleticism skills there.
You did the drum roll earlier. I'm just clapping.
I mean,
along
I'll
to
tell
the
you what,
beat
I was
now,
like,
you know?
what
I
is
mean,
happening over there? But anyways, Alex Hillcrest, who has lost 2 in a row, a pretty good matchup, it feels like, with Nation Ford on the horizon.
Yeah.
Hillcrest really, like we said earlier, now we're number 1. You
See,
don't want
you're
to.
swatting
I
at
know.
that,
I'm
yeah.
not clapping at it, though.
No.
Hillcrest is really in need of a win, and you don't want to go into the postseason kind of slumping. However, Nation Ford's 2-8.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
a team that's only won 2 games this season, you kind of feel good about if you're Hillcrest. Their only wins are over York and Fort Mill.
Yep.
And it looks like Hillcrest will host Nation Ford. So a home game for those Hillcrest fans out there in the upstate. So, again, just a few that I have heard confirmation from coaches on. Reggie Shaw of Burns says that they will play Lexington. They will host Lexington, but TBD on where they will host Lexington at because they have no stadium. So they are currently looking.
Is there not like a middle school around there that has a stadium?
Well, there is,
yeah.
and Beach Springs and a couple other options. However, you just talk about facilities-wise, being able to host a playoff
Logistics,
game there.
yeah,
And,
I understand.
It'd be tough. It'd be tough. Now, I know that Spartanburg was on the table. Spartanburg, to me, makes the most sense. If those decision makers in District 5 are listening, which I'm sure they're not, and if they were, they wouldn't listen to me anyways, but Spartanburg makes the most sense. Why would you not just go ahead and play at Spartanburg next week? They're off, right? They have a bye.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and just move it over there. Todd Staley, work out a deal with Spartanburg, kick them a little money, and go play at Spartanburg. By the way, it's a turf field. You don't have to worry about messing up the field or anything. Give them a fraction, a percentage of the gate, and go play there. To me, that makes the most sense. There's not a perfect option. However, that would be it would seem like a good option in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Or I mean, heck, go over and if you don't want to play it at Spartanburg, go play it at Wofford or something like that.
The problem with that is they'll charge you
$8
$8 million.
and that's fair. That's a very fair point. But again, there are plenty of options on Friday night for Burns to be able to host a playoff game.
Best option though, Spartanburg.
Yeah,
that's the best
agreed.
option.
Or the Walmart parking lot.
Or the Walmart, yeah. Harry Cavanis of Chapman confirms Chapman will play Palmetto. Bennett Swagger of Nation Ford confirming those guys at Hillcrest will host Nation Ford. Again, Hillcrest hosting Nation Ford. Scoot Watson confirms that J.L. Mann will have a bye. Yeah. So J.L. Mann's off. Broome hosting. Nope, they're not. They're at Powdersville.
Yep.
So Broome and Powdersville, Landrum, Central, Pageland, Dorman, Boiling Springs. I know there are a lot of good games first round and a lot of bad games like MVP versus Carolina. That will not be a good game. They could go ahead and play that one today if they wanted to, if they were smart, because that one will be ugly. I feel bad for Carolina, a one-win Carolina team that's going to have to drive to Columbia to get, beat bad, and no disrespect to them, but that's what's going to happen. However, of all the first-round games, you will find it very difficult to get me more excited for the first-round matchup between Dorman and Boiling Springs. A big game. Dorman kind of coming off of a high. A couple of weeks ago they defeated Gaffney. Boiling Springs coming off of the loss to Burns and then the win last night over Eastside. I was very disappointed that we didn't get that matchup in the regular season. Now we're getting it.
You might get it, yeah.
Now we're getting it.
Yeah.
It looks as if we're going to be able to call it, right? We're calling the playoffs just like they did on Tuesday night for the election. But early lean in that one. If that one happens like we believe it will, if that's the correct matchup, is to me, tell me if you disagree, to me that early lean for me is a pure coin flip. It's hard to say either way.
Yeah, no doubt, Cole. And we talked about it in hour number one about Boiling Springs struggling to win the big games.
Yeah.
And their 3 losses this year are those big games: Gaffney, Spartanburg, Burns. If we would have had this game in the regular season, would they have 4 losses right now? Possibly. It's difficult to tell.
Yeah. You never know.
I mean, Dorman, on the other hand, did not look great in some of their losses this year, but they've looked pretty good in some of their wins. And so I'm with you. I think it's a pure coin flip right now.
I think it is too.
I don't know. I think maybe this is the time where Boiling Springs maybe gets over the hump. But I'm leaning
they
like 51% Boiling Springs.
But if you don't, your season's over. I mean, what a first round game for them. I mean, you don't get a Carolina.
Oh man.
I mean, first round, you're at Dorman.
Yeah.
Wow. Texter, before we end the show, Texter says, genuine question, how do 1 and 2 win teams make the playoffs? Well, 3A, for whatever reason, Alex, everybody makes the playoffs. Yep. Everybody gets a trophy.
There's only 48 teams or not 48. There's only however many that is. What's
Let's give
16
it
times
another
2?
minute.
16 times 2.
Yeah.
It's not
That's,
48, but
30
you were
32.
close.
Yeah,
That's
there's
right,
only 32 teams in 3A. So every team makes the playoffs. But yeah, it's the playoffs.
They shouldn't, though.
The playoffs are a little watered down.
But how does one
but-
classification have first round matchup with MVP in Carolina, and another classification has a first round matchup between Boiling Springs? Between Boiling Springs and Dormant. That makes no sense. None.
One day they'll get it right.
But again, I understand it's complicated when
Yeah.
you have that exact amount of teams. So again, follow at Fan Scramble on Twitter to stay up to date today on the brackets. As soon as they come out, we'll have them up on our Twitter pages. Good to see O-Line Life. Give us a follow on Twitter, on X, if you will. Appreciate all of you listening to the show this morning, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Want to say thanks to Ingles Markets, Founders Federal Credit Union, Lumos Internet, Lumos built for the future. Also want to say thanks to Ben Pittman back in the Ingles Market Studios for doing a fantastic job on the ones and twos. To my right, Alex Guest. I'm Cole Bryson. We'll see you next Saturday in the big city of
Chesney.
We'll see you there.
High school football rules on the Saturday.